don't show prep. So, so he had no idea.
I just barely make it in.
I'm sure you can tell, but we don't show.
I mean, let's put the cards down on the table here.
Illustrious. Styles.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy, ha ha. It's a 6-Rick Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real Portland live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the 6-Rick champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad. The 6-Rick Kane show. The 6-Rick Kane show. The 6-Rick Kane show. You know.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the 6-Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for sticking with us here. We were working through some technical difficulties.
New computer.
Yeah, new computer. The camera is much better.
Yeah, the camera's great.
Yeah, the camera looks crystal clear. Joined by Blue and DJ. How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, we got some news to talk about. Let's actually before that we'll do a little ad read here, and we'll see if they can. You Break Will Fix can also fix the kicking situation, which I know Blue's been talking about a lot this offseason. It came to a head today. But first, have you ever run over a pothole so hard that your steering wheel shakes? Are you constantly losing air in your tires? Chances are there's an issue with your wheels, and You Break Wheel Fix is your solution. You Break Wheel Fix is Miami's premier wheel repair and restoration company. They have over 20 years of experience. They offer quick repairs for damaged wheels. So in most cases, you can get the car back the same day. If not, and it's a longer-term deal, they'll get you a loaner. If your wheels are looking weathered, you're thinking maybe you got to buy new ones. You don't need to do that. You can refinish them. They do in-house refinishing. They powder coat, machine, polish. They'll make it look new. So contact Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 and follow them on all socials at You Break Will Fix. And if you mention 5 Reasons Sports, you'll get 5.5% off your next repair. That's You Break Wheel Fix powder coating and wheel repair, 305-748-0112. Located at 1848 Northeast 143rd Street in North Miami, Florida, 33181. That's You Break Wheel Fix, 305-748-0112. Mention 5 Reasons and get 5.5% off your next repair. Well, Blue, I'll start with you on this. You'd been alluding to issues in the kicking game, concerns all around. So Abram Murray into the portal. Yeah. So what are your thoughts, I guess, on that and the overall kicking situation now?
Well, I know Carter Davis, so I've watched Carter for a while. He was out of Western High School in South Florida, so he's got a strong leg. He's been around in a few schools. It's not the strength of the legs if you watch a spring game, because both kickers kicked a long enough field goals, just accuracy. And I think we have to come to the realization, guys, that we don't have the kicking game we've had the last 5-6 years. So, so we can't keep using that as a measure.
Out of Borgalis's.
Yeah, we can't use that as a measuring stick. So we just have to see with Carter, and they may bring in somebody else. You never know. This next couple of months is going to be pretty interesting. I had Adam Lichtenstein from the South Florida Sun Sentinel on the show tonight, and we were talking that very thing. He says that it's come to the point where if you cover like not just the Canes, but anybody, you're like a doctor on call all the time because you could be off. And then all of us, like today, he's going over to Tampa to cover the hockey game for tomorrow, but yet something broke. So he had to be on, he had to be on call. So, and I have a feeling that's going to be the norm for the next couple of months. And, you kind of know that there's a reason for everything that's happening. I mean, all week I've been inundated on these shows and how can they let a guy like Patterson go? He's a stud. He's going to play in the NFL, and no doubt, but sometimes it's not all about what happens between the lines. It's, and the same thing, we found out about Brashard Smith. Miami just wouldn't get rid of a kid like that's athletic and has all that talent. There's got to be underlying reasons, which are so. Hopefully we got those things out of the way, and now we could go hunt for a linebacker. And
so just real quick, circling back to the kickers, you mentioned Carter Davis, who obviously his locals came from FAU, where when he was brought in, he was talked about as kind of a touchback specialist, has a big leg. Yeah, his accuracy was pretty terrible last year.
Everybody's was.
So question: are you comfortable with going into the season with him as the kicker?
No, they're going to bring somebody else in.
You need to go get someone else. Okay.
Yeah, you have to do that.
Because my assumption is they probably already kind of have those something lined up there, or a lot of options they know they can bring in. Otherwise, because in my opinion, Abram Murray hitting the portal was kind of like, okay, he knows he's not going to be the kicker. And I know a lot of people reported that Carter Davis has won the job. I was like, I don't think.
No, he won the job for right now.
Yeah, we had to kick today. Yes, but I was like, I don't think that was. I didn't read that into it. I felt like they're going to go get another kicker, and Abram Murray knows that, so he's got to go now. You can't wait for them to get another kicker and then try to go. It's too late.
No, dude. It's just. This is the thing now. Everybody goes, "Oh, what the heck they doing now? The spring's over." Believe me, they're burning midnight oil.
Used to it, right? It's just it's free agency, and you got to make moves. You got to essentially cut people, which are the ones you nudge to the portal. It's like you're not gonna have a role here. You've fallen off the depth chart, and then you've got to go sign people. Essentially, this is all it is. We're used to it in professional sports. You got to get used to it in college football. There's a window.
Sports in general.
Yeah. No, there's a free agency window now, and so some kids from our school are going to go into free agency and sign somewhere else, and others are going to, come in. And in the case of Oklahoma, they're going to hit free agency and then immediately double back into their school with Stone that we thought we'd have a shot at. So.
I didn't think Stone was really going to. From there, what would be the advantage of?
Well, but it was weird that he hit the portal, right? So. No, I know that, but usually you don't have to go that far. But I do think, it's interesting because the whole situation with Nico in Tennessee, Stone did the same thing and they paid him. So, you have your leverage, right? You have your leverage. So you got to use it. DJ, how concerned are you with the kicking game now?
It's definitely something to watch. And Miami can definitely bring in somebody over the summer. I think they almost have to. I think Carter Davis went something like 4 of 11 on field goals last year, so that's not going to cut it. And I think the other part of it too is, we've been, like you guys alluded to, blessed with solid kicking. When the reality is, this is a problem for many teams. It's hard to find a solid kicker in college football. It's hard to find, both a kicker with a big leg and accuracy. And Miami was lucky enough to have both for several years, and now it's the growing pains of the after Borregales life. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how this develops over the summer. Like you alluded to, Vish and Blue, it's free agency basically now, so hopefully they'll be able to find somebody. But this is post Borregales life, and there are going to be some growing pains.
And especially DJ, where people would automatically say, well, we have bigger fish to fry. And let me tell you something. If it's a 2-point game and you got a field goal to win it, it's not something you could put on the back burner. You have to have a guy where you could go in comfortably, extra points, was automatic. Would he miss one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we can't. It's sort of like, I'm sure when Mickey Mantle retired or Tom Brady retired, you're not just going to all of a sudden replace them, but you got to have somebody who's got to be, he's got to at least be professional.
And even beyond like late game situations, missing field goals is a really good way to dominate a game and not get paid off on the scoreboard. And we've had, there was a time before the Borealis, Manny Diaz had some really awful kicking situations before he got Borealis in there. That Georgia Tech game comes to mind where we missed a bunch of chip shots, extra points. And once you lose it and you can't trust the kicker, affects your decision making. You start going for it. It takes the wind out of the team. You put together a nice drive. Are we going to get paid off on this? You don't. It's a turnover essentially. And so, that should not minimize. I think we've all gotten fat and happy with the Borealis is essentially handling that spot for us, and should not take for granted how important it is to have a kicker that can just consistently make kicks. That doesn't have to be Borealis' quality where it's like anywhere on the field you expect it to go in, but if you start missing 35-yarders and things like that, it really does kill a team. And so. Yeah, and as Blue said, extra points as well. Although Carter Davis didn't miss any extra points last year, so maybe he's got that going for him. But yeah, 4 of 11 on field goals is certainly very concerning.
On the flip side, Vish, I mean, I was just thinking about the game that I believe you went to. Was it 6-3 a couple of years ago? I mean, those field goals literally won the game.
The 11-8 game up in that was a Virginia game where it was Borealis against the other kid from Miami.
Yeah. Didn't you go to that one or no?
Yeah, I did. That was the double. It ended up being more than that because it was. I think it was 3-3 or 6, whatever. At the end
Jake Garcia was the hero.
Yeah,
that's right.
And ended up obviously no one got a touchdown in the overtime, so it ended up being 2-point conversions. I think it ended 14-12 or something. Was the
14-11.
Whatever it was.
Remember, they had to go for the 2-point conversion.
Right. No, it was the 2 points because no one scored in overtime. Like an so they kicked field goals until it was the forced 2-point conversion. Yeah,
that's right.
That was one where Jake Garcia had an easy touchdown pass in the flat to win it and decided he was going to run it in and almost didn't score.
Almost got crushed.
Oh God, man! I was in the press box. Yeah, you're right, DJ. That was when the play broke open. I was like, okay, finally, this is over. And then he didn't throw it.
Closed pretty quick.
They clear that gap. That's why he's in the portal for like a 4th time now. But
I saw that the other day. That's crazy.
Decision making was not there, but yeah, he got it. He barely broke the plane, but he could have thrown it for a walk-in touchdown instead. But yeah, no, the kickers matter. There was one time the Al Golden era too, where I believe we played USF and won 6-3 or something like that as well. There's been some, there's been some kicking needs here. Obviously, you want to win every game comfortably, but you're not going to do that. So you need the kicker. Hopefully they have a plan in place and kind of have some things lined up, and that's why Abram Murray hit the portal. He knew there was just no way he was going to be the kicker. Because if it's him versus Carter Davis going into the fall, it's probably an open competition. You could still win the job back. So I'm assuming they're going to get someone in here.
Yeah.
Need that. I guess the other name to talk about that entered the port today is Emmanuel Kernley. Came in from Arizona, played spring ball here, left. Start with you on that, DJ. What are your thoughts there? I mean, this is the second time this has happened. I'm spacing on the name of the kid from Iowa a couple of years ago.
I know who you're talking about, but I've also
do the same thing though. Camped here and then like transferred in and then transferred out. So how big of a loss is? I know we lost. Blue mentioned Zaquan already. But I think we had cover. Obviously Xavier Lucas. That whole thing happened after Carnley transferred here, so he kind of fell down the pecking order a little bit. But EJ, your thoughts on that? And do you think now we need more corner depth, or you think we're still okay?
I think we're still okay because what that tells me is that Conley, it tells me that the corners that we have on the roster in Lucas and the kid from Michigan, they're making a push and they're going to be pretty good. I mean, Conley was a guy that came in and he didn't really start a ton at Arizona, but he played in 10 games, I think it was last year. So he did have a little bit of experience. And so, to me, we lose depth in that way, but it also, to me, means that, the secondary is a lot better than, some may think. And I'm not sure if there's enough depth there, but there's enough talent there. And that's certainly a better starting point than where we were last year.
Lou, what about you? What are your thoughts on, I guess, the secondary as a whole now? We've lost a couple of players into the portal.
Yeah,
we probably thought we'd be in the 2 deep at least going into spring at the very least.
Probably from a depth standpoint, I think that they kind of got the message, especially with Carnley, that he wasn't going to be in the in the mix. He came in and had a spring, and that's we talked about. I think DJ and I talked about this back in late December, January, how important spring is for everybody now, because you bring in so many new kids and portal guys that this is really a tryout. And certainly he didn't see any, any light really at the end of the tunnel. Miami wasn't a very good secondary last year, but as we said, with the addition of 2 new corners, 2 safeties, and a couple of other kids, the Zaquan Patterson deal hurt, but there's a reason. They just wouldn't, they wouldn't part ways if there wasn't a reason. So you may have to add another seasoned defensive back safety to the mix. With the departure of a few people, they have some open spots. So gives them an opportunity maybe to I thought maybe additional linebacker, somebody else in the secondary, a kicker, and maybe somewhere on the offense, maybe a receiver if there's a good one out there. But other than that, you don't want to get too many running backs. You get disgruntled people like last year, especially because you have an incoming freshman. You have a couple of kids that you didn't play a whole lot last year. I mean, we saw Lyles kill it and then didn't see him. Obviously, that was a couple of reasons for that. And then you certainly have Lofton, who the wrapping's still pretty much on. And but yeah, I just think that the defense, to get back what you were saying, the secondary is night and day to where it was last year, to even where we left off last spring.
Yep.
And then you get back there in the summer, it didn't really get a whole lot better.
No.
As the season came on, you had Porter got banged up a little bit, and he might have been your, the guy that you were looking to be a savior. Brown, same thing, but they didn't perform. And but I think you're just, like I said, with Brantley, Lucas, Poyser, definitely guys like that are going to, because they're plug and play kids. They're not, let's see what they could do. They got to do it now. So we'll see. I don't think Miami's panicking as much as anybody wants to believe they are. I think, they're in a situation just like, like Ohio State lost a defensive end and then they lost a safety. So they may be panicking, the same thing. I don't think they are. That's what I'm saying. So we'll see. Next couple months or so is going to tell a story. But I think that if you could get a kicker, let Carter kick off. Just get a guy who can kick field goals inside.
I think that was the plan, right? Originally, when they brought him in, he was going to. That is one area where we struggled last year, was putting the ball through the end zone.
Yeah. Well, guess what? The sous chef's got to cook now.
Well, I don't know if we want that. So
well, right now, anyway.
Let's go get another chef in here.
Yeah. And let's be honest here too about the roster itself. With the 105-man roster limit, it's going to create some tough choices too. So, and that on top of it creating tough choices for coaches, it creates tough choices for players as well. And you only have a certain amount of limited spots. So maybe that's another reason, Carnley goes somewhere else where he can play right away and, does that. So it's not just about transferring, not because of lack of playing time or something like that now, like it used to be more so. It's the fact that you have to have 105 men on your roster, and you got to make some tough choices moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me shout out some people in the chat. Shout out to Fresh, Dan Barry, Parrish. Parrish has a question too, but first, since we're talking about the secondary, the kid from Houston entered the portal yesterday. AJ Halsey, he was first team All Big 12. I know, obviously, every time anyone enters the portal, my it's like, oh, yep, he's definitely coming here.
That portal in an hour can change.
Yeah, but do you think we need a starting safety still? Because I think Miami is not the I don't know anything about what the school is thinking. The fan base has already penciled this kid into the starting secondary. So
which one? Who?
The kid from Houston, AJ Halsey,
okay.
in the portal yesterday, I believe.
I thought Williams had a pretty good
first team all. Yeah, I was. That's why I asked the question that way, because I was a little surprised at how quick. Again, I know our fans. When anyone enters the portal, like, oh, we got to get that kid, but
they've been waiting, Vish, forever for Marquise Williams to do something, and he finally does, and now they want to get rid of him.
I didn't view safety as a need, to be honest. I mean, this kid was first team All Big 12, so he's obviously good, but I thought we're pretty strong at safety right now, which is why one of the reasons Zaquan went in the portal is just like.
Yeah, and Brown also caught 109 balls, so so it's nothing's ever etched in stone.
Right. Yeah. I didn't view that as a big need. Do either of you view safety as a
No?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page there, but obviously when you have first team All Big 12 talent,
well,
if you can bring.
You just lost the DB, so maybe that would make sense maybe to bring one in, but I think the pressing need, to me right now, I think we need another
linebacker to me as well. And that actually is a good transition to.
The defensive line and the offensive line are perfect. Yeah,
I think we could probably use another receiver, and then definitely a linebacker. We need depth, if not a starter, which kind of feeds into Parrish's question a little bit in terms of who will wear the green dot on defense. For those that aren't aware, green dot is the person with the speaker that gets the play called into them. Last year, I believe it was Kiko, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's usually not a defensive lineman, because
maybe Wesley.
Yeah. I was thinking it's probably Wes.
4 years he's been there.
Maybe Poiser if they want it on a safety, but probably one of those two. Even if we get someone new in, I don't think you bring someone new in that's not.
But Wes has got a pretty good grasp of the whole scheme.
It is a new defense.
Just came in.
It's a new defense, though.
No, but he's been here. He knows everybody. He knows the situations, and
but it's still I'm assuming it's not the same.
But he's picked it up. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, but I think Poiser probably had a similar opportunity, right, to pick it up because it's new. I'm assuming we're not going to have Mesidor out in coverage this year,
but you never know.
Watch him like Zona Blitz and pick one off in like the championship game or something. Like, I do it.
Now, Blue, I have a recruiting question for you, actually, because I've heard a bunch of rumblings about this particular guy, running back Shamar Brown, I believe visiting tomorrow. Miami doesn't necessarily need a running back. They have talent, but what's your read on Shamar Brown and how he fits with Miami and where he's at currently in terms of the recruiting process?
There's no doubt about it. He's going to enhance, where he comes. But like I said, Miami's got right now, it's not the pressing need because obviously you have Fletcher and you have Lyles. And then all of a sudden, Pringle, can play this game, and he's a big back. And let's not forget, if you need Elijah Lofton, he can carry his tools over there. So it doesn't, somebody said to me the other day, can he play linebacker? I said, if you put him back there, I'm sure he's going to find a way.
The athleticism,
yeah, but no, I don't think we need. But if they have a chance to get him, DJ, I'm sure. Remember they just gave up a pretty good excess running back who's at FIU, so you don't want to keep bringing in guys just because you're going to bring them in. That goes back to your question. You're going to keep you're going to add another safety when you really don't need one right now, but you're more apt to need linemen because of injury than
Right.
a lot of other positions. So,
Right.
and because they wear down and you want to go, sometimes with offensive line, you want to go 6 deep, 7 deep,
Right.
maybe even 8 deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and do they have, right now they just have about 8 linemen, because you don't want to start counting the freshmen,
Right.
you don't want to start bringing Campbell and Wilkerson and, and Buchanan and guys like that, because they're really not ready. It's taken
Mhm.
Ryan Rodriguez 3 years to get ready. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
but they got with Ryan Rodriguez, you got a lot of versatility.
Yeah.
But,
Absolutely.
yeah, he could play guard center. So that's what you need. I mean, that's why Rivers was so valuable, because he can move left to right. So, yeah, that's the thing too. And I tell kids now, I was at a camp on Saturday up in Orlando, and one of the young men was talking about playing. He said, well, I could play corner because I got, pretty good hips and I'm loose. And I said, okay. He said, but I could also play safety. I said, I play them both, because
Yeah.
that'll get your butt into the lineup or into a team. It's just sort of like, if you have like remember when Bosher was here, he filled the role as a kicker punter. If you could do that, then you save a roster space. So, but especially a lineman, if you could play both sides of the ball, and you could also play a guard center, which Miami's kind of stacked up on, but yeah. But to me, quarterback wise, we know, running back wise, we know, wide receiver, you got the talent. People just got to step up. This is Ray's year. I've said it over and over again. If he
I
doesn't
agree.
get it
I
done,
think
he'll.
the concern at wide receiver is probably similar to why they're still looking at running back. There's just not a lot of reps there.
No, there's not.
Same thing with running backs. Like, other than, Lyle played a little bit last year. Fletcher's the one that's actually played though at that position. Everyone else is, so if you got an opportunity to bring a veteran in that's got a lot of carries, got a lot of catches. But yeah, they're gonna. They're gonna be relying on JoJo to be the top guy with and so I think, yeah, they might go and get someone that has a little bit more experience, but I think talent-wise, wide receiver and running back, they're set. It's more just, if you don't have a lot of
experience, lack of. But you know what? Here's the funny thing about that. In the opening game against Notre Dame, Malachi Tony could catch 10 balls for 210 yards, and then it's over. Okay, well, we got the AC. I've seen that happen. I've seen, where there were so question marks, and then all of a sudden in the opening game, your question mark has 2 sacks and 5 tackles,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you never know. It's but to me, you feel a lot more comfortable with some depth at some of those positions. That's, you can't, like DJ said, you can't have that much depth with the roster limits anymore, because, a lot of the kids are going to get disgruntled and say, hey, you know what? No, I'm not the 109th player here. I could be the 88th somewhere else. So,
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's a crazy time, for all athletics. And, you see it in basketball all the time. And, so we'll see. Meanwhile, your Buckets probably is going to be a good show. They're picking up some kids.
They are.
Yeah,
I keep seeing it. Yeah.
We've got 8 players now. Can almost practice. So couple of questions in the chat. Well, Muhammad just says Pruitt needs to start.
He will.
You think so? I think
not off the bat, but Muhammad, he's going to show he's a playmaker. So what's going to happen by game 3, 4, 5, you're going to look in and say, hey, wait a minute. I hate to bring my old friend back, but you know what? He was making plays for him and picking up tackles, so you couldn't not play flag. Right. So you had a, but I'm not going to compare the two because Pruitt's a lot better physically and a lot bigger. But I agree with Pruitt, with Muhammad. I think Pruitt's got that type of athleticism, and down the line, the kid Wiley, and also the young kid from Largo, who I like, I was talking to his dad at the spring game. I like those. I like the young kids, but Yeah, no, I think he's going to have the shot, especially because, last year, let's face it, Wesley didn't have a great year. So
No, he didn't.
I still expect Wes and Popo to start.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But I don't know that. Well, two things changed. One, the defensive coordinator changed, so we've got based on everything we're hearing, we're going to probably play more guys and sub a little bit more, keep them fresh. He likes to play a little bit more dynamic defensively, I think. Last year Kiko was on the field basically every snap. I think so. I think a lot of these kids are going to play more just because we're going to rotate more. It's a different scheme, so we got to see how they adjust to it. Some players are going to thrive in it, others aren't. So we won't know till we see. I guess the other question in the chat was Rudolph a big loss at defensive end?
He hasn't played football in 2 years, so it's really tough to, say, well, last year he had 28 sacks, but he didn't. So it's not a big loss. He's just he's got, I kind of knew he was kind of unsure of himself when I saw him come down from Deerfield and then the next week leave and go back to Cincinnati not to play, So I don't, to answer your question, no, I don't think it was a major loss.
No, I agree.
Yeah, and especially I think, again, we're going off of what the coaches are saying and what they're talking about, what's being reported, but it looks like we're actually just going to stick Barron and Mesidor on the ends and let them play. Which seems simple enough, but it's something that did not happen a lot last year. A lot of rotating them in and out when, frankly, would have been better off just put your two best ends on the field. And they're both complete players too. They're not just pass rushers, or they should have.
Well, Mesidor is versatile enough to play either side. So
yeah, he's versatile enough to play either side. He's also versatile enough to slide inside some. And I think we kind of got. He's good enough to do that, but that's not his best position. I don't think.
No.
And so I think, again, kind of what we're seeing or what's being told is, they're going to stick them in their best position, let them just thrive out there. And having one disrupted defensive end on each side is going to be problematic for the opponents, and that makes the defense easier for everyone else. So I think that's the plan, which again then puts less of a, less of a onus on Rudolph getting a lot of playing time here if he was, like you say, hasn't played in a couple of years. So if he was going to play, probably would have been limited snaps because you're going to want, Mesidor and Bain to play as many snaps as you can.
And you got another pretty good young defensive end too.
Also, if you can actually force 3 and outs this year occasionally, you don't have to rotate as much.
What's that?
So that you gets
3 and out
guys every time. You got to rotate the whole defense in. But if you can, get off the field in 3 plays and force.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here, Vish. Let's.
You don't have to rotate as much.
3 and out. You're talking now.
Hey, I mean, stranger things have happened. Teams have punted and everything.
Jesus.
Parrish has a question. If our secondary is as good as we think, do the receivers get better or the secondary not be tested going? Okay, so I think he's asking because he did put a little knot on the neck. So he's asking, given that we think the secondary is good, are they really being tested by the current receivers we have, and I'll throw in the quarterback pairing that was available in the spring. Like, how do we know they're good? Essentially,
well, there's more experience in the secondary than there is, as you said, at the wide receiver.
Yeah, so I think his question is kind of: are we concerned at all that we're overrating the secondary given the receiver? Is definitely. I mean, I think overall this is the strongest roster we've had in 15 years, probably or so. But you got
to use that little word before that, potentially.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we're basing it off of what we saw last season in the secondary, which, quite frankly, was awful. So, on that measuring stick alone, I think the secondary will be at least better than last season. I think the receivers will test them enough, but we'll see.
But let's not forget, 2 years ago, coming out of high school, Jeremiah Smith was the number 1 wide receiver in the state of Florida, and Josiah Trader was number 2. So he's got that athletic ability. He's got that talent that all of a sudden, boom, he's shown. It's just the only thing he needs reps. He just needs reps. And, it's like Kobe Young. Nobody expected a lot from him last year, and he came through with a lot of really good games, so.
Yeah, he did.
If we're going, why didn't we just re-sign Horton?
Because there are better receivers than
Or Kobe Young, that's right. Horton.
Yeah, no, this is Horton. Horton went
Yeah.
to Alabama. Kobe Young was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then why not keep Brown State going? So I mean, I don't. I'll just say I don't think we viewed him as the wide receiver one, and Alabama paid him as such. So I think
Yeah.
But again, this is not. Look, I know there's no salary cap. There's still a budget.
Salary cap.
And it's not unlimited money, right? So there's no artificial ceiling like in professional sports, but there is still a budget. And frankly, I think we on this show, the coaches feel JoJo is a better player, and so you're not going to pay Horton as if he's the best receiver on the team when he's not. And it's to me, it's that simple. And Alabama was willing to. Obviously, Alabama got in his ear early because he hit the portal immediately and was there the next day. So
Yep.
they made an offer. I don't even know if he brought it back to us or not. It doesn't matter. Like I think we're comfortable in that. I'm not. Look, he's not in the. You're asking why we didn't pay him because we don't view him that way. If we'll see if it's a mistake, right? We've certainly made mistakes before, but we don't view him that way. I mean, Blue mentioned Brashard Smith as someone that, we let go to SMU and he took them to the ACC championship.
We didn't really let him go. It was kind of a decision,
Yeah, but it was one that, it was hard to get a role carved out for him that would meet what he was looking for, and SMU did, and SMU made the ACC championship game, and we didn't. So there's that, right? I mean, so you could look back and say, man, imagine if we had him last year. Then again, unless he was playing cornerback, it might not help. But hard to be better than the best offense in the country, right? So I don't know. You're always going to have some kids you regret letting go. I think Horton is one they just did not view. I think last year they viewed him as third behind X and Jacoby, and they didn't view him as taking that step. And then he's saying, if we're paying another transfer same money, it wouldn't make sense. We'll see. I think they can do better for a wide receiver one. First of all, I don't think they think he's as good as JoJo, but I think they can do better. Let's see. We'll see what happens. If they run with this team, I think I'm fine with them going to the season with this team because they need to run the ball.
Yeah, good point.
I would have beat that to death. Like, you got this offensive line, these running backs. You should not be throwing that much. It's not last year. You don't have Cam Ward anymore. I'm fine with Carson Beck. I think he's a really good college quarterback. He's not Cam Ward, so you should not be throwing it that much.
I think part of it too is, with the way that Miami's offense is structured and these young receivers, I think you are going to see a lot more running the football, only because, these guys are going to be learning on the fly. And they're going to be really good. I have no doubt that these wide receivers are going to be really good, but, there are probably going to be some growing pains at the beginning of the season and this and that. So you're going to need the running backs to kind of balance everything out and settle things down if need be at times.
Yeah, and Parrish is asking about getting high-end receivers, I guess, because our better receivers have been the slot guys as of late. I get that's fair. I think, Jacoby had high-end, elite college talent and was a knucklehead a lot of it. So he put his own ceiling on his ability to perform, which did not go away right up until the end of the Syracuse game, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. So that everything's got to click. Frankly, we don't really know, what some of these guys. Last year was the only year we actually had the quarterback to really fully utilize the receivers we did have. So hard to say on that. Yeah, this is kind of a bird in hand thing, right? We had Horton. I don't know if he even gave us the option of coming back when Alabama got in his ear and offered him.
Yeah.
But even if he did, it's one of those things where, again, it's not unlimited money, right? So at that time, we had no quarterback.
Good point there too.
So I mean, I don't know if you're going to spend all this money on potentially your second wide receiver when you didn't have a quarterback. Now, obviously, we do. At the time, we did not. So things have changed, and now we're not thinking about the money we spent to fill gaps that we had to fill, right? Instead, now we're looking at, well, it would be nice to have. Yeah, it would. I mean, I liked Horton, but I can get why they're like, we need to put the money somewhere else. Like, I'd like to spend a lot of money on a kicker right now, to be honest. So these other positions we're talking about.
But I think you also have to develop the guys that you have, and losing Horton as much as it stung, will allow you to do that.
Yeah, and I think there's depth, and then so if JoJo, JoJo doesn't have really experience either. So no. I mean, we have depth. We have depth. So.
But again, I think this is where, if that happens, they may need to rely on their running game a little bit more, and
a lot more.
they can do that. A lot more.
I mean, that just to me means that they're going to get more creative with Elijah Lofton as well. He's like an X factor where you can kind of plug whatever gap they're looking to plug. But I will say, generally, Muhammad, this is all going away. Like, let's be real, right? The number one pick in the draft is going to be from Miami, and he was here like less than 12 months.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Like, this is kids are going to come in and go out for a myriad of reasons. It's not just the money.
Oh, yeah. This isn't anywhere near what it used
to be. This whole, like, these are ours, we can keep them. We don't have the option. There's all sorts of things that go wrong.
Yeah, the whole landscape and concept of recruiting has completely changed. I mean, some good, some bad, but I mean, to try to keep kids home and keep them at a certain program is tough now, especially when the money bags start calling and talking. So,
yeah.
I mean, this was my soapbox last year when we were in situations where you're in situations where like the running game was working. Yeah, we forced the pass, and especially wide receiver screens. Yep, that was problematic. Definitely came to play in the Syracuse game. I think low key one that people have kind of missed out on is the Georgia Tech game. That first time of the second half. Ran the ball all the way down the field and tried like a play action bootleg on 4th and 1. And we had attempted to pass the whole half, and it didn't work. And it's like, could have picked up that yard. There's no way Damian Martinez wasn't getting that yard. And it's kind of like, I think, but again, without Cam Ward, I think, I'm thinking they're going to be more willing to run the ball. We did see that more 2 years ago, especially when Tyler Van Dyke got injured. But even before that, when he was struggling, we did see Dawson was more willing to lean on the running game and basically not throw unless he had to.
You know what game comes to mind too? The Virginia Tech game a little bit in terms of wide receiver screens and offensive struggles. And the weird part was that Virginia Tech executed theirs and we struggled a little bit at times.
Yeah, because you're coming off of Ball State and Florida A&M, and it was quite a different story that you couldn't do something against a pretty good team like that.
Yeah, no, they played us tough that game. All credit to them.
Virginia Tech was before the season one of the teams that everyone was looking at, to be at the top. So, and they lost to Syracuse and somebody else early.
Well, as we found out, Syracuse was a little bit tougher than.
And they will be. You know?
I mean, Fran Brown
bad memories.
Yeah, Vish doesn't want to relive that one. Sorry,
21-0. We did get Lyles some game experience, so let's hope that pays.
Yeah,
definitely the time to do it with the freaking season on the line. Let's go to the third stringer. With the way that game was managed. Let me just put it that way. It's like I felt like Damian Martinez averaging like 10 yards a carry. We should just kept slamming it down the throat and gone.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was pulling out
here. What do I know? All right, I think a lot of good questions in the chat. Obviously, we're here every week, so we can, keep them coming. But Blue, do you have something for us?
I do.
Oh wait, hold on. Appreciate that, Mohammed. Appreciate the
Thanks,
donation.
Mohammed.
The Muhammad's a good dude.
Yeah,
he had some good takes there too.
Yeah, no, he did, and I don't necessarily disagree. I guess I'm just like so jaded at this point. I was actually. You mentioned the basketball, like, and how players are like so much player movements, like way worse than even football, and so, like we have a group chat for our show, and we just got that kid today, and Matt referred to him by his first name. I was like, I don't even know who you're talking about anymore. Like, it's just like
no, he definitely had some good questions too. It's just that the whole landscape of recruiting
I think I'm
changed.
just so jaded at this point that like our kids, what does that even mean? But he's probably
the whole landscape of recruiting has absolutely changed, and it's wild and whatever.
I think he's probably got the right perspective. I'm just like so jaded at this point. I'm like, whatever. Anyway, Blue.
Yes.
Technology.
Technology. And the one thing that Muhammad did say is he said we should build him a statue. If he stay here another half year, freaking Colorado retired freaking 2 jerseys. So you never know. This takes you back a little bit, 1988. This was the Miami, Missouri game. I don't know if you ever remember that. This was a really good Miami team. Obviously, the 88 team playing off of.
Oh, that was the Cleveland Gary didn't fumble and they stole our championship and gave it to Notre Dame. That's what that was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you look at some of the players they had, like Bill Hawkins and Randall Hill. And, this is every year Miami would come up with some really, really good talent. So I just thought I have so many different programs from so many different years. So got that, a couple of recognizable names in there. What was the score in that game?
Oh, I didn't even
88 Missouri. Usually look that stuff up.
Yeah, well, I mean, that one I know the record. The only loss was that Notre Dame debacle.
I know the record, but I think
I didn't have to look it up. But let me see.
They beat Missouri pretty good, I believe.
Sure, yeah. I mean, they killed everyone, right?
But they had a couple of local South Florida kids, from what I remember.
Let's see, Missouri. Anyone want to guess?
57-0.
DJ?
I just looked it up, so that wouldn't be fair. But Blue, very
Blue
close.
was very close. It was 55
close.
55-0.
Yeah, they didn't have a whole lot of talent in Missouri, but I brought that back. And also I got a little bonus tonight because I was looking at it before. This is the 2004 cover of the with our guy on it, Antrell Roll.
Oh man, he put on that show against
this was the 2004 year. Miami was this is when what's his name? Jason White was David Pollock. Oh my God.
Jason White from Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, he was the quarterback. He was the all preseason All-American quarterback. I don't know how, but where was the other thing? This is Florida State had Crefonzo Thorpe. And then he was pretty good. He was out of Lincoln. I remember him. And then this was a good year. Georgia Tech had Reggie Ball. This was a good ACC year because they had.
It was the Canes' first season in the ACC.
Yeah, it was. They had Antrell, and then they also. They had Ryan Moore, who never worked out, unfortunately. I wish he would have.
Yeah,
high school,
talent, but just didn't.
Orlando, and then there's the late great Tyrone Moss.
Yeah.
Tyrone was a really good back for them.
Yeah,
and they had this the birth of a dynasty with Howard Schnellenberger, and so they had. I was looking at. I always like looking at some of the teams and some of the players that they had on those years. And I'll tell you what, this in the 2001 year, they had some studs in the ACC and in the Big East, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, the people, if you're a little bit younger, you don't remember when the SEC was not viewed as the top conference and not even really close.
Not even close.
If it for
Not
most
even
of the time until again the really until the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Clemson had good teams, but they were never, they were never a power, but they had good teams, and that's it. I'm going through a lot of stuff, so I'll probably find a lot of stuff, but I do. I may have to make a debut on Buckets.
No, it's coming. We need off-season content
because I ran through Miami Navy, and David Robinson was on the cover of the magazine. And you remember David Robinson, Danny?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And then what else was it? I had I had back in the UCLA when they played Miami at Pauley Pavilion. We looked that up. Remember, it was like 100 to like 30. But it was neat. But back in the day, Miami basketball, it was a lot of fun. The Admiral. But Miami basketball was a lot of fun to go to. And when they first came back, it was a pretty good with Foster, and they had stars like Kevin Presto.
It's also like that was back when, again, I'm talking about when the Big East was like a ridiculous basketball conference too. And kids wouldn't
big
and players wouldn't go pro until like after their junior year.
Exactly.
These like
even BC was somewhat decent back then.
Yeah, no, but you'd see these like NBA players that are like juniors in college. Like now they'd be 2-3 years in the NBA.
Look at Patrick, like Patrick Ewing and Alonzo Mourning. They didn't go one and done. I mean, I remember. Yeah, you're right. They always had the Big East. Always had some really good basketball. Even West Virginia when Catlett was there, they had some pretty. Pitt always had really good basketball. That Big East was good, but the hardcore Big East back in the Georgetown days with John Thompson and they were really good. They were really good. But that's it. So good trip down memory lane, and we'll have to get. I'll have to get some early 2000 stuff so we could at least have the people here, other than Muhammad, who knows a lot of stuff. So, all right.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks guys for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching the show. Parrish, I did see your question. We'll address that next week. Going to take me another 20 minutes to get through Mario's game management and adjustments. So we'll table that for next week.
Yeah.
He's every offseason he says he's working on it. So we'll see. Thanks everyone for joining us. And we'll be back. We'll be back next week. Might hopefully have a kicker next week. All right, we'll talk to y'all next week. Thanks.
The 6 Rig Kane Show. The 6 Rig Kane Show. The 6 Rings Kane Show. You know.